Technical founders can ship a proof of concept fast and still get stuck for months right before revenue. I'll show you the system that I use in order to know if I should code things myself or when I actually become the bottleneck, so you don't get stuck in the MVP danger zone. We will map from proof of concept to MVP. Then we'll show you the 2 failure paths and the exact move that gets you back to shipping what customers pay for. So I'm myself a senior developer, and I started with Ruby, and now I'm doing more TypeScript. I can build MVPs myself, and I actually built a couple of them. One is now making 6-figure revenues, and a couple of other ones, they're already behind the MVP stage where they start to make money. Now, this is all cool. I can do stuff, I can develop things by myself. But at the same time, I'm not a full-time developer, so I'm also running this business. So usually I can get a project to something that's called a proof of concept. This is already more than a lot of developers can do. A lot of developers would be able to make something that gets specified and then they execute on it and then it's cool. If you make a proof of concept that is actually online and runs and can even be purchased, it's very close to an MVP, but it's actually still a proof of concept. It doesn't mean it's a product that can scale and that can be sold multiple times. I'm very good at getting something to proof of concept stage. When going from proof of concept to MVP, it takes more time. It takes iterations, it takes customer feedback, and then you see that this is actually something that gets purchased over and over again. And usually this is much harder. I always think this is the same thing as a technical person, and I'm speaking to other technical people right now who may be hiring their first developer. They think it looks very close together. And this is exactly when the bottleneck comes in. Because I, as the technical person behind this, who coded this, I think this is the timeline and here we're good. What am I going to do if I reach this point? I'm going to do the next thing, or I'm going to take on another bottleneck in my business. So I'm already planning this, or something else. Now the problem comes when I underestimated the MVP. When this is actually not here, when this actually is here, this is the danger zone. This is where I should develop and refine, but I don't have the time for that. So if you're technical, you're hiring, you're doing the MVP development yourself, you're working on the next thing already. And also additionally, there is stuff needed here. Now you don't have time and you don't have a developer to take it over. That's the problem. This is when I can become the bottleneck in the development process. This is when usually smart people are screwing up because they underestimate this phase here. There is another fallacy that can happen. Let's take the same scenario. Let's say we got it to the proof of concept stage. The next fallacy that can happen to any technical person who's building their own business, including me, I've seen myself doing this. This is actually the developer's fallacy, because now you have the proof of concept and you should go into the MVP. The MVP means that's the product that can be sold. What now the technical person likes to do, because they like this phase, they like to code. They don't like this phase where it's all about setting up payments, doing some marketing, making sure the app has really good UX, seeing what the customers do and improving it for them. What they do here, they're now diverging and building the next proof of concept feature in here. Proof of concept feature 2. This might happen. That they're just scared to release it and scared to make it really good. So this is actually bottleneck. This is the same thing as we had before. This is danger zone. If this happens, you're on the wrong path, because it should never be about the feature 2. It should be about getting feature 1 done really, really well. This is when the next problem can come in. And this is where technical people usually screw up. And the only way to fix that is having pressure from the customer side. That can be your spouse needs money, tells you to sell more of that. So usually in a situation where the back against the wall is there, you're more inclined to actually sell this thing. I've seen people getting much better in the entrepreneurship game when they actually have the back against the wall. Can also be a non-technical co-founder who's just driving traffic, and there's so many customers piling up here that they have to fix it and make the MVP better. But if they're technical people just being left alone, this happens. And this doesn't just happen for entrepreneurs, it also happens to developers. Let's say there is a non-technical person working with one developer and they're not monitoring them. This is actually what's happening. I've seen this right now in a project that we took over, where the developer just went crazy. And he didn't just go from here to there. I mean, he went into danger zone, but he then continued this path. They made a feature 3. So they didn't even complete the feature 2. So this was already the first problem. And now they go on the next problem and repeat this. And eventually there was a product that did not work because the features were not complete. This is when the developers are left alone and they're going overboard with their ability to code. This is when people become the bottleneck who are having the best intentions and the best technical skills. And I've seen that, and it's totally real. The only way to fix that is with pressure from the customer side, with a clear direction. When we work with developers, we are giving them goals. And I can show this. We have our own goal tools here. Everybody here in our developers, they all have their own goals. But the question is, how do they set them, right? We need to give them directions how they can actually set the goals right. Of course, there's a project manager, and they talk about what should be done. and there is a product vision, all this. We have all that. But still, what the developer does on a daily basis is dependent on how much pressure they have and how they're incentivized to move towards a shared goal of the product, eventually on the company. So what we do here for all the goals, we have a planning section. We know exactly that's what the company should do. Then we have the goals for the company for the quarter. And from there, we have different teams in my company. So we go into the team efforts. Every team has certain efforts or certain, you can call them also goals if you want. These are the areas the teams work on. And after that, the developers set their goals onto the teams. So here you see a couple of, so these are not sorted, they should be sorted here, but they would now relate to the actual team efforts. That's why this is super important. And this is only pressure from upstairs down to the teams. And if you're alone, this is what you got to give to the developer. If a developer without direction is basically doing this over and over again because they're just incentivized to code, they're not incentivized to actually drive a business result. If your software as a service keeps getting stuck in the almost done danger zone, subscribe. I'm posting more systems like this in order to help you ship faster. Adding to that, now the question is, how do you get out of this fallacy, right? The best way out is to have just customers and you yourself just continue working on it and the customers push you towards this. So once you have people in your inbox asking you to code this MVP, you can go for a long time. That's what I did with my SaaS. I didn't hire it out for several months before it went really stable. So this is possible because I had non-tech co-founders asking me all the time to fix some things. And then we actually had customers emailing us. So then I was fixing that and I was giving customer support. So that's possible. In case this is not enough, what usually works is hiring out this part and having someone just polish things. So this is usually good for me. I like to hire a developer who can bring it from this stage to this stage. And now, as we're running multiple products, we're even getting a developer to do those proof of concepts first and then code the MVP later on. The interesting part that I found is that the proof of concept doesn't need to be even done by me. A developer is really good at doing that. But usually they need guidance and they need to have a certain focus of when are they working on a proof of concept that they have to throw away and when are they working on the MVP. So MVP needs clear specification, clear UI guidelines, clear workflows. Proof of concepts don't need that. Something that I often see people do, they just work on a proof of concept and then they end up either in these fallacies or they just stop here. Sometimes it's good to throw away all the code and then just go all the way here because this is already figured out, right? So you can technically just code out all the way to the MVP. In order to know where you stand, there's a good graph that helps. It's called the the hill graph. Okay, so basically how this works is here. You going up this hill in order to figure out what you want to do. So this is technically exactly this proof of concept phase. And once you have reached the top, then you know all the landscape, you know all the problems that you have in here. And then you can go down the hill in a predictable fashion. That's how you build software that's in time and budget, is actually when you are here on top of the hill. You cannot build software in time and budget if you're starting out here. We have another YouTube video on estimation. You can check it out. But this is what I would always suggest now for anyone starting out to build a software is you need to know what you're working on. Is it a proof of concept? Is it something that works only for you? Is it a vibe coded mess? Or is it actually something people can buy? Because there's a huge difference between those two. And this here is always underestimated. And so as someone who makes a product and can be technical, can be non-technical, it's very important to know the difference between those two and how to get from the proof of concept to an MVP. If you look at all these problems that we have here in our journey as an entrepreneur or a person building a software as a service, any kind of software product, it's good to have a couple of solutions and knowing when you tap into those fallacies and how to get out of them. So for example, if you're seeing yourself hiring too many helpers, you would notice that when your specification time takes too long, or let's say takes as long as the developer would need in order to code something out. Or if the developer never finishes, then you have helpers that are usually useless. Then you need to rethink your hiring strategy. But also if you're specifying something, it takes a long time for you to specify it. And then you find yourself just vibe coding something and this is almost there with what the helper could have achieved, then there is no point in having a helper. And the only way to fix that is find this functional leader. Don't go overboard and try to find someone like you. Find a functional leader. If you're not able to afford someone who's a full-time committed developer who you know is a functional leader, hire a fractional CTO or hire a part-time person, someone who's maybe a bit more economic but can still fulfill that. And you see someone as a functional leader when they're working a bit more slowly than you and when they're inspiring you to think a bit differently. The fallacy of hiring someone like you would see that when they're constantly showing you cool stuff, that never works. It takes a couple of iterations, but if you see someone being too distracted, or even someone who's building his own business, or three of them at the same time, you usually have someone like you, probably best to take a step back and reassess who you're going to hire. The solution, of course, is hiring functional leader. And you see this based on how much progress you make. If you're working with someone like you and you're building a couple of things, you're iterating many, many times, you're always getting to 80%, but never getting to 100, then it might make sense to just stick to one thing and work through, and ideally work with someone who's able to move this here and move it into the end. So this is this person here, not the helper, it's the person here who's bringing something to 100%, and then you can do all the marketing activities and you can maybe have more ideas later on, but this person helps you finalize. Yeah, so eventually this would actually look like this. Functional leader, and then the functional leader can hire more helpers, can hire people in between, because then they have the capacity of managing them. If we talk about proof of concept development, MVP development, the way you get out of this issue here is if you actually hire someone along the way. So while you're making the proof of concept, you already hire someone who makes something similar, because maybe you need different proof of concepts. Maybe you need in different areas of your app. So you have another proof of concept and you hire someone here already who's working on the next proof of concept. And then this person will jump in here and be there for you to code it all the way into the MVP. An idea, this is a not distracted person who's a functional leader going all the way into the MVP. So you don't do the next product. You're working on this. Let's say you're in this situation. You have coded the proof of concept and now the MVP takes longer and you're already working on the next project and this is your danger zone. The way to get out of this is more marketing, more customers. This always helps. But then how should you hire? You'd actually need someone here. Problem is, it takes time for this person to appear. You cannot just get them in an instant. You need to dig the well before you're thirsty. So here in this phase, you already should look into hiring someone because it takes time to find the right person. So here, get some candidates in, find some of them, give them some test tasks. Some proof of concept can be a test task. And one person will be the winner and then work together with them on the MVP. So this person here will get you from proof of concept into MVP. And you as a technical person can then really focus on all the auxiliary things that the MVP needs. Customer support, sales, marketing, distribution. Now, if you find yourself in this situation where you yourself worked on the proof of concept and then you didn't get it to an MVP, of course, you need the person here. Someone who can bring it from proof of concept to MVP, but you need to know what the MVP is. Let's say you don't know what the MVP is, or you think the MVP is done, but it's not. And you even have the person here working with you on feature number 2, but it's not actually in the MVP. The only thing that can help save you here is someone who actually knows what's going on. Someone who, like a consultant kind of person or a business coach or another developer who can look into things, who can tell you, second feature is not the right thing. You need to get back here. Don't build the next feature, build the MVP. So here you actually need help. You can then code it yourself or you hire someone, that's both fine, but you need to see the truth. And the truth is that this is not the feature that will sell. This here is a difficult position because a lot of people, especially developers, they like to do this. They like to code this and then the next one. And I know many of them myself. The problem is that these people are not admitting that they want to play. They don't want to build a business. They don't even want to have the hassle of having customers. They just want to mess around with some things. And that is also fine. But then just don't call yourself a SaaS entrepreneur. If you're finding yourself in this situation where you have a proof of concept and you think you work on an MVP, but actually you're jumping into different features and maybe you're doing pivots, you're never bringing into the MVP stage. There is one good phrase I heard from a mentor of mine. He said, if you don't know, you should be scared. So if you don't know if you should work on this or if you should work on this, what does it mean? It means you don't have customer feedback. And if you don't know, you need to get this customer feedback. You need to get more users in, and only then you can really refine what the MVP is about. And if you know what the MVP is about, you're not even getting to this zone. This is a non-issue because the customer tell you they want this thing. If you hire someone here, cool, they can help you. Cool, here, they can also help you. But the main thing is that you actually figure out what the people need. Now, I like to hire people here because I like to have the development taken care of. So I can focus on what the actual customer needs. For example, in my case, in my venture studio, I focus on where the product should go, and I hire out the development to my developers. So we work with our non-tech co-founders, and I continuously talk with them and we refine what the product should be, and the developers take care of that. So yes, I'm all up for working on the POC yourself, vibe code something, show that something can work. But then here in this stage, probably makes sense to hire a developer and have them take care of that so you can focus on the product. If you think you save a lot of money by not hiring someone, you need to think about the opportunity cost that will occur on this line. If you're not able to focus on the product, or even more so if you're tapping into one of these fallacies, you will waste much more time along the way, and time is money in the end. That's why especially here, it makes sense to have a developer ready to go so you can focus on the sales. Once you get enough sales, you can pay for the developer. If you're a technical founder or you're working with someone who is about to hire, you can watch this video for the first 4 weeks of onboarding, which is the most crucial thing for new developers to get up to speed and ship for your business.